Qapla! Hello everyone and welcome. It is Wednesday, so it's time for Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine live review / rewatch / commentary. And today is season premiere of Season 2. So Season 2, Episode 1, regardless of Netflix or anywhere else. It's Episode 1, The Homecoming. Now, The Homecoming is the first of what is written as a three-parter. It didn't air all at the same time like Emissary. So they are three distinct episodes, but it is a three-parter. They all have different titles, so it's not part 1, part 2, and part 3. We just gotta be okay with that. Just preparing you. And Thomas Potts, despite demanding all three parts today, they were aired as separate individual episodes, and that's how we will do it. So hello everybody and Qapla. Thomas Potts was first in the chat today. Says hi, which is becoming rare that Thomas is first. He used to be first all the time. Josh Street says down with Bird, of course. 47 Yorktown says hello, Mr. Bird. Hello, 47 Yorktown. Thank you. Live with Matthew says Qapla, Birdo Prey. So glad to see DS9 Wednesday, and I'm actually around to watch it. Yes, this week we were able to do streams a little earlier than usual because Camille came back, but for a few, I don't know till when, Camille is coming earlier than she usually would, so it was okay to do some earlier streams. I don't know if it's going to be like that next week or the week after. Probably not, but a happy side effect of this week. And Mama Prey wants me to remind everybody to switch on over to live chat because I would forget, although I did remember myself today. Josh Street, oh, okay. So Josh Street had said down with Bird, but then he says until he or she changes his or her name to Alpaca Okray 5. Really, Josh Street, you can't tell how man this is? You must be blind. Mike Richards says greetings from Columbus, Ohio. Greetings, Mike Richards. John Meyer says hi. Welcome, John Meyer. The Multi-Gunman says, hey, Bird, how's it going? It's going good, Multi-Gunman. Didn't I just answer that question? I did. I just answered that question in the comments early, like 15 minutes ago, and I saw you replied. Thank you. In the Karoga video from yesterday, the City Skylines video, he asked. John Meyer says, who will be the first to get Dax Lesbo to go? Again. A go. But I think he means again. Who will be the first to get Dax Lesbo again? I don't know. It's not Thomas. Not so far. John Street says, Thomas, you know Bird won't even give you part 1. What? Although Thomas, Anti-Trekker, did tell me after he's entered the stream that he did want you to give me that extra $1.99 from tomorrow that would usually give him. He said, you know what? I deserve it since I'm the one who's going to be updating the Anti-Trekker thread on his forum, you know, with his latest status. And the first update I already made before the stream, Anti-Trekker's surgery begins at about 7:30 a.m. his time, Central Time. So, yes, he has to be at the hospital at 5 a.m. If you've ever had surgery, you know you have to be there way early, and at least in my cases, they almost never start on time. So don't be surprised if it goes a while before there's, news. Multi-Gunman says Bird for president of the quadrant. You know, Multi-Gunman, I don't care what other people say about you. I like you. Thomas Potts, how do we know this is live? You don't. Because of my psychic powers. It's quite possible. I anticipated everybody's questions already, and I pre-recorded this. I could be at this very moment actually playing Space Engineers attacking Kurdistan, because now is when you would least expect it. Tiki of Doom, it's been a long road. Yeah, it's been a long road. Tiki says Bird has like 6 of these in the can. I wish. Jason Lake says Bird of Prey 5 Alpaca. Not Ryan Johnson says hello in Qapla. Hello in Qapla, not Ryan Johnson. John Street says Thomas Bird live streams are never live streams. They are all recorded beforehand. Absolutely. Miss Lundell says greetings and felicitations. Hip hop hooray. Tally ho. Thank you, Miss Lundell. Not Ryan Johnson says Bird's new name is Jeep O Alpaca 5. I like it. I like it. I don't think I'm changing to it, but I like it. Jason Link, like button clicked. Like button licked blue. Subscribe button triggered. Bell icon ringing. Well, thank you so much, Jason. Derek McManus says greetings all. Welcome, Derek. Shromore says greetings, Birdo Prey 5, Mamo Prey 5, and fellow nodes. Fellow nerds. Nodes are, of course, something we use in coding and forums. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And Shromore says, and greetings to Sassy, chaser of cats, eater of cookies, stalker of cardinals, defiler of cushions, and scourge of the squirrels. Sassy was so happy to see Camille today. And she saw her 2 days ago, but Sassy's always happy to see Camille. Sassy's always happy to see my physical therapist and Camille and Sister O'Prey. And of course me and Mom O'Prey if we ever leave. Other than that, Sassy don't like seeing many other people. And just... Oh, that's right. She likes the baby. My cousin, Dibs, his wife, had a baby, and they were here a few times over the summer. And Sassy really curious. She went up and she's sniffing the baby, and she wanted to be near the baby. She didn't really have any use for any of the other adults, but the baby she wanted a part of that baby. I think she wanted to protect the baby. Josh Street says, Bird, I know an old woman that had a beard and short going bald. It's hard to tell. I'm not short. I mean, it's hard to tell how tall I am because I'm in the bed, but yes, I'm not short. Shronmore says, can't stay long, just drop by to give the stream a like. Thank you, Shronmore. Thomas says, yes, your psychotic powers, whatever. If they work, I'm not going to question them. Shronmore says, llama. Oh, you see, you thought my psychic powers were bad. No, he actually said alpaca. I got it. John Meyer says, we need to keep force Jeeps to make a new model. The Jeep Alpaca. For when you need to carve out an empire in the Andes. Excellent. Josh Reed says Thomas Bird's using Sassy's psychotic powers to know what's going to happen on his live stream so he can record them. That's possible. Josh Reed says Sassy is happy to see them since they give them toys. Actually, Camille doesn't really give her toys. Camille will give her some food when Camille's eating something, and my physical therapist, he never gives her food or toys, so I don't know. Not Ryan Johnson says Thomas is psychotic. I knew it. And John Street says her. Yeah, give her toys. I get you. Give her toys. No toys. No toys. Poor Sassy. Though I did used Anti-Trekker's link, which was whoever gave him the... Was it Darren? I think Darren. The jerky. I ordered 2 packs of that jerky for Sassy Dog. Now, I have never eaten beef jerky in my life. Or any kind of jerky, for that matter. Never had jerky, never had pork rinds. Okay? For the same reasons. I can't imagine they're good for me. And at this point, if I've gone 40 years, and when it was 30 years or 20 years, if I've gone this far in my life without having tasted them, and God forbid I might like them, I just assume never try it. Gone this far, I can go another you know, however many years I got left, which, whatever it is, I think I can go without trying them. But I did order, since we were ordering from the jerky store, and Anti-Trekker specifically recommended it. Not only is Sassy getting 2 bags of the PETA jerky dog treats, I did order a single bag of prime rib jerky. I don't know. The whole idea of jerky still freaks me out, but if I'm right, jerky doesn't really go bad. So I figured maybe we keep a little bag of jerky around in case, you know, the apocalypse comes and you need some protein. We'll have a bag. John Meyer says no jerky unsubbing. The jerky's on its way. John Street says Bird is only a few inches taller than Anti-Trekker, and we all know Anti-Trekker is a hobbit, so Bird is a tall hobbit. You know, your logic there is, I don't see the flaw in your logic. Mike Richard says, I've had half a dozen surgeries. It's done early morning because the patient's too groggy to fight back. Yeah, every one of mine has been early morning too. I just hope the doctor doesn't come in with a hangover. Not Ryan Johnson. Well, let's put it this way. Every planned surgery is early morning. Because by the time you get later into the afternoon, that's when they get all the emergency cases. I remember sitting, being told that the surgery was at 3 p.m., and they took me down to the waiting room for the operating room at 3 p.m., and it was another 2.5 hours before I actually went in. Which I didn't mind, don't get me wrong, except I felt bad that Sister O'Prey left work to come there to be, because she wanted to be there, you know, when I was having surgery, because despite her, you know, political differences, she does care about me. And really, she could have worked that whole day, but minor stuff. Everything went well. That's all that really matters, at least with that one. No, we're not going to do alpaca jerky, not Ryan Johnson, nor canned alpaca, nor chicken fried alpaca. John Meyer says 1 bag, Bird the prepper. Yes, the prepper. Not Ryan Johnson says green eggs and alpaca. Josh Street says Bird is getting beagled. No. Uncle Remus says good day, sir. Good day to you, Uncle Remus. Mike Richards says Birdo prays alpaca jerky just in case. And John Meyer says Bubba Gump alpaca. Someone needs to do the whole bit. I don't remember. Bubba Gump shrimp. Like, you got jerky scampi. Jesus, jerky scampi. I don't remember. I loved the movie Forrest Gump. It was a great movie. One of the few movies that the whole world liked and I liked. Usually I'm at Usually I'm at odds with the rest of the world on movies. Jason Link, all hail Karoga, bird of prey, dear leader and his beloved people. Down with Turtistan and the Trek hater. Yes. No beagle, alpaca, chow, not Ryan Johnson. Okay, so we got some people here. Yeah, we got people here. It's time. We're going to be starting in a few minutes, so this is the heads up. If you want to watch the full episode with audio and video and all that good stuff live with me as I comment, right now, go to my Discord. You go to the you go to my Discord, you go to the off-topic main channel, and there is a link in there to go to yet another website where you can watch the video whole. Now, I can't put that other website's link in YouTube because YouTube won't be happy, because YouTube likes to be the number one, video streaming site, and they are. But, they don't want to see another video streaming site in the links. I don't want to piss them off. all hail YouTube, you know. So, but if you go to my Discord, which is it's a good incentive for people to join my Discord anyway. So I don't even hate that fact. If you go to my Discord, which you can get the link to at birdofprey5.com, there you go first. Go to birdofprey5.com. You click on the link to go to my Discord. You join my Discord. And inside my Discord in off-topic main is a link to another website where we can watch it together. Now, it's paused. If you go there right now, you're going to just see a black screen. But when I start watching and I hit play, it will play for you as well. And I want you to keep the YouTube window open so you can hear my commentary, obviously. But you can watch it there. If you can't or don't want to do that, then in the bottom corner of the screen, where the... Oh, wrong one. There we go. Where the black box just popped up. In the bottom corner of the screen will be screenshots from the episode so you can follow along. And that's okay. It's okay. Mama Prey and I were coughing at the same time. A lot of sassy here in the house today. Give me 1 second. I don't want you to see this. I'm embarrassed. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe it if I told you. Okay. So we both coughed, and Mama Prey needed a piece of paper towel, so I tear it off and I throw it to her, which I do, you know, fairly regularly. Most of the time I catch it. Sassy intercepts it. It falls to the back of Mama Prey. Sassy jumps over Mama Prey, wrestles the paper towel out from behind Mama Prey, and then Mama Prey tries to get it from her, and Sassy is running away. So I throw a second piece, and I overshoot. So Mama Prey have to get that later. It went behind the couch, which is a different bed. So the third time, though, was the charm. So Mama Prey got her paper towel. Sassy is now ripping apart another paper towel. And Mama Prey or Sassy will find a third paper towel in a few. Anyway, once I start streaming the actual video, of course, please, if you want your comment read, use @birdofprey5, because I won't be able to read all the comments at that point. So use @birdofprey5, and I will do my very, very best to read it. Or, of course, you could use a super chat if you're so inclined. Okay, so let's get to the rest of the chat, and then I will start. Where are we? No, not Beagle and Alpaca Chow. Not Ryan Johnson says, anyway, like I was saying, alpaca is the fruit of the sea. I don't think that's what they call it. John Myers says, audio, visual, smell-o-vision, all the good stuff. Jason Link, alpacas are a protected species in Karoga, #alpaca nation. I don't know if that's technically true. Not Ryan Johnson says, you can barbecue it, you can boil it, bake it, saute it. It's, alpaca kebabs. alpaca Creole, alpaca gumbo, pan-fried, deep-fried, stir-fried. John Meyer says, can we send Bird an alpaca gram? Once somebody creates the alpaca gram, you could send it. Josh Street, says, Bird and alpaca beagle bits. I've added a new beagle burger to the menu called the Ultimate Beagle Burger with alpaca bacon, 5 beagle meat patties with 10 pieces of alpaca bacon. Thank you for making me lose my appetite, Josh Street. Mr. Lundell's Groovy Movies, just under the post-it note will be stills from the episode. Yes, that is another way to say it. In fact, it's a better way to say it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lundell. And John Meyer, I love it, says nose gelogia. Yes, a nose gelogia. Or a throat gelogia. Darth Sweeney says booger escape. Was there a booger? I hope not. Nut Ryan Johnson says there is pineapple alpaca, lemon alpaca, coconut alpaca, pepper alpaca, alpaca soup, alpaca stew, alpaca salad, alpaca and potatoes, alpaca burger, alpaca sandwich. That's about it. No snot rockets, Uncle Remus. Josh Street says, remember, if you want Bird to read your comments, use the app Bird'll but you have been warned that if you say it 5 times fast in a dark room in front of the computer, Bird will show up behind you. That is true, yes. Ms. Lundell says, sounds like Sassy should be playing for the NFL. She could join the... Why doesn't the NFL have a dog league? That damn puppy bowl, that's all a farce. On National Geographic Animal Planet. That's all rigged. The Puppy Bowl's rigged. We need real dog football. And co-ed. John Meyer says, so we missed the best thing ever. Sassy for the interception and the win. Well, he wouldn't have been on camera even if I left the camera running. But, yeah. Not Ryan Johnson says Sassy should be playing for the Giants. Mike Richards is official interceptor beagle. John Meyer says Birdo juice. No, you can't say that. Jason Link, Crash O'Prey 5, our dear leader. And by the way, today, people, I made it to space in a large grid ship. And I found platinum. I told Azine, he was on early this morning, I'm taking this ship, and I can be honest, this ship was really, I just put it together in a mad rush. I was very hesitant about taking it into space, but it worked goddamn flawlessly, and I did find platinum after over an hour of searching. For those who wonder just how, because I know Nicole asked, is platinum even, supposed to be this hard to find? Everything I read says yes, platinum is the most rare element in space engineers. It is only found in space. And just in my experience, I found 5 or 6 uranium asteroids before I found the first platinum asteroid. And it is quite a distance from Earth, from Kuroga. 163 kilometers, I believe. So it's not even not the near Earth asteroids. You got to get pretty far out. Now, just to be put that in perspective, the moon is roughly 750 kilometers away. So I was, a fifth of the way to the moon, which is not too shabby a distance. But they are out there if you look hard enough. And I didn't crash. So I found platinum. I was able to get the GPS. I mined some of it. And I did not crash on the return. Now, of course, at some other point, tonight, tomorrow, I'm going to put more drills on the ship and return to give it a good drilling. Now that we've got some platinum to work with. I want to get a whole bunch more. Uncle Remus says, so if you had a 13-year-old son, who would you take them? Would you take them to see the Joker in theater? Yes, I would. I mean, if I was capable of going to the movie theater and I had a 13-year-old son, I mean, if they wanted to go, I would take them. I don't see any reason why not. I know it's an R-rated movie. I think it's an R-rated movie. I'll be honest. Ratings don't really mean much to me. John Meyer says, so there's platinum in that there hills. Well, if those hills are in space, then yes. Jason Lynch, you're giving them clues to where it's at. It's okay. 163 kilometers from somewhere on the planet of Karoga. That's, there's probably more than one, but I won't find them all. Thomas says, were you in creative mode? No, Thomas, I was not in creative mode. In fact, I told Anti-Trekker today, I confessed to Anti-Trekker that I had to use creative mode to remove something, and he was completely okay with it. Not an issue. So don't worry. Not Ryan Johnson says, bird didn't crash. He drops his payload while in orbit and hopes for the best. That did happen a couple of times. Ms. Londell says 750 kicks, kind of close, don't you think? 750,000 kilometers. Yeah, 750, 1600. No, in the game, yes, 750. Well, listen, okay, in the game, Earth is only like the size of a frickin' beach ball compared to the actual size of the Earth. So in the game, 750, just even with a mod that makes the game speed 5 times faster than it should normally be, at full speed, it would take you 20 to 25 minutes to make it to the moon. And then another 20 or 25 minutes to make it from the moon to Kurdistan. And obviously the same going back. Or to the restaurant that is neutral territory. So that's basically it. So if you want to go Karoga to the other planet, to Kurdistan, without stopping at the moon, you're looking at about a 45-minute solid journey where you're just basically staring at the computer screen and twiddling your thumbs because you don't have anything else to do unless you put on a jump drive on the ship, which obviously takes a lot more resources, but is the only practical way of getting long distances. John Meyer says, later tonight, Bird is planning on having a good drilling. That is true. Mike Richards gives it a good drilling. Thomas calls me a cheater. Why, Thomas? An anti-tracker is totally allowed to use his admin powers. What I did, Thomas, was I removed the dropship. I just removed it. I deleted it from the game. I realize now I put the dropship down. I put one at Kurdistan. I put one in Karoga. Now, the moon doesn't have a dropship because the moon had rovers. So there you can drive the rover out of the safe zone. But when I added the safe zone, and we don't allow grinding in the safe zone, you can't grind away at the landing pod, and you can't move it. Because even if you add your own turbines, atmospheric turbines to the ship, and you add your own cockpit to the ship, and your own batteries to the ship, you can never unlock the landing gear because you can't get control of the landing gear. So you'd have to grind the landing gear away and put it with your own landing gear. But because you can't grind in a safe zone, the ship is forever locked and impossible to remove using the standard game. So I could have done either two things. I could have either edited the safe zone to allow grinding and then put it back, or I just deleted it completely from the game, which is what I did. And even though it took some resources with it, because I had already added a bunch of extra thrusters and a cockpit to it before I realized there was no way I could get it to move, I said, it's okay. We were fine. So I just deleted it, and Anti-Trekker, if you guys in Kurdistan get tired of that drop pod sitting at your spawn point, you can ask Anti-Trekker to delete it, or if you want, I'll come delete it, but then I will have to see what's going on at your spawn point. So that is your choice, but it is a choice. Jason O'Great, Karoga Math time. Not Ryan Johnson says Thomas calls Birds a cheater, yet we saw him try to murder Anti-Trekker and Space Engineers. Yes, but he was in a safe zone, and Thomas knew even if he tried to shoot the gun, it wouldn't have shot. So it really, there was no chance of killing. Jason says Thomas is a serial killer. Could be. John Myers says you can't grind, but you can twerk. Not Ryan Johnson. Bird really likes to grind. On what? I have no idea. On metal. Thomas says, I still haven't been to Kurdistan. That's right. Did you ever leave? If you need help, I can kick you or whatever. Kick you out of the admin faction. Okay, guys. So I think we are about ready. So if you're going to watch along at home, make sure you have Season 2, Episode 1, The Homecoming, up and ready to go. What are we? 32 minutes. We're 32 minutes in. Hopefully I didn't lose too many people on the pre-viewing chat. Thomas says, before I left, I removed the block Anti-Trekker was standing on, and he fell to the ground. Good for you, Thomas. That's good for you. Okay, so if you're gonna watch, it's time to head over to birdofprey5.com, click on the Discord link, go to Off Topic Main, and click on that link. I need to mute the audio, so we don't. And I muted the microphone. Nope, there we go. We'll mute the audio so you guys don't hear the audio from the episode. I am bringing up the screen where I can watch it. I see Life with Matthew is in the room to watch as well, and if anybody else is there, I don't see you yet. But here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. Opens on the station. Quark spar. Aliens laughing. People playing Dabo. Odo calls Quark. Quark is visibly disturbed. He wants to wait. Odo says, can't wait. So Quark reported a freighter as smuggling some stuff to Bajor, and Odo says, you know what happened? I did an investigation, and Quark says, and you found out I told the truth. And Odo says, that's right. So Odo's kind of confused. Why did Quark tell him the truth? Quark says, I helped you break a smuggling ring, and you still insist on treating me like the enemy. And Odo says, you are the enemy. So Quark says, well, then how do you explain me helping you? And Odo says, that's it. I can't explain it. Quark said, we've been at each other's, against each other for so long. I thought it's time we call a truce. And Odo knows he's up to something. And Odo says, you're always up to something. And Quark says, I see this is going to take time. Eventually, you'll learn to trust me. Odo says, that'll be the day, and walks away. And Quark, I think, is quite pleased with himself. Quark says he's never seen Odo so perplexed. So Rom doesn't know why Quark did that. And Quark said the 66 rule of acquisition. Every once in a while declare peace. It confuses the hell out of your enemies. A great and memorable rule of acquisition. Speaking of peace, I should tell Anti-Trekker maybe we'll go to peace before it goes into the hospital. Okay, so we got an alien woman asking Quark about his lobes. So the woman's asking Quark if he knows about anybody going to Bajor. And he says ships go back and forth all the time. And she's showing him a Bajoran earring. Says that she promised to deliver it to Bajor, but she's not going to make it there this trip. So a Cardassian gave her a Bajoran earring. He asked her to take it to Cardassia. Said that, they would understand what it meant. So she's like, but this is a Bajoran station, so there must be someone here who will know what to do with it. So this lady gives it to Quark. Although Quark had to kiss her first. So Quark, uncharacteristically, I would say, smart move. Not that Quark is stupid, but I don't think he would go to Major Kira first off, because he knows Major Kira is not going to pay for anything. So this is our first look at Major Kira's quarters. Very dark. She was meditating. So Quark says he always wondered what the quarters look like. Kira's like, you better not be your only reason. Quark says you don't entertain a lot. And Kira says, I entertain a lot, just not you. Which is clearly fake. Now, she goes into the bedroom to put on a real shirt. Quark is saying, are you going to offer me a beverage? And he's having fun, because he knows he has something she's going to want. So he shows her the earring, and she immediately recognizes it as something important. Asks, where did you get that? Steals it from Quark's hand. Quark asks if it's valuable. And she says, where did you get it? And Quark, for some reason, tells her exactly where she got it. He got it. From a trader who got it from a Cardassian on Cardassia 4. And Kira storms out of her own quarters with it, leaving Quark in her quarters to, do whatever he might do. And Quark yells, again, a little uncharacteristically, consider it a gift. So I guess Quark was just in a good mood in this beginning of this episode for plot reasons. And we're in the opening credits. Thomas says, before I left, I removed... Oh, right, Anti-Trekker was saying. Miss Londell says, the gamesmanship between Odo and Quark was an interesting little battle at times. Little? Yeah, it was... I think it was the basis for quite a part of the show. Live with Matthew says, the onesie of Kira's. Yeah. I guess that's future Bajoran fashion. I don't know. So this was the first. Oh, I didn't put in. Jeez, I didn't update. I didn't update this. Son of a bitch. I knew I forgot to do something. And I don't think I updated the air date on the thumbnail either. Damn it. We'll erase that for now. I'm so sorry. Okay, well, the thumbnail I can fix. I can put the original air date on the thumbnail afterwards, but we'll have to leave that blank for now. Sorry, my bad. Nobody noticed though, so I guess nobody watches it. The homecoming. So Jake sees Commander Sisko and says, "Wait up." Asks Sisko if he has a minute. Sisko says, "Always," for him. So Jake has good news. Sisko guessed 5 things. They were all wrong. And so Jake is saying it's a girl, a Bajoran girl he was talking about. He already asked her out, and Jake says, "I was thinking of taking her to the Hollow Suites." And then Sisko stops and says, "No, you're too young to take a girl to the Hollow Suites." So Jake said, "Well, maybe I could take her to our quarters." And he's like, No. So Sisko says, "Take her someplace they can talk." And Jake is like, "That's boring." And Sisko's like, "Since when?" And he's like, "Since I started liking girls." And then Kira comes in wanting attention. And Jake says, "I can see you're not ready to have this conversation." And leaves. So now Kira and Sisko head into, I guess, Quarks, or Replicate, or the Replimat. And Sisko orders a Ractagino with a P, an Orion P. And he orders, even though Kira doesn't want anything, he orders food and a drink. It's time for him to eat. I guess it's his lunchtime. So Kira wants to borrow a runabout. And Sisko says, "For what?" And Kira's like, "You don't want to ask me that." Sisko's like, "Too late, I did." And Kira's like, "You don't want to know." And Sisko's like, "I can't loan you a runabout, a Starfleet runabout, without knowing what you're going to use it for." And Kira finally says, "Well, to take it to Cardassia for to rescue a Bajoran prisoner." And Sisko says, "I wish you hadn't told me." So apparently the earring is from a particular resistance fighter, the greatest resistance fighter Bajor ever had. Even Commander Sisko knew the guy by name. He was reported dead, but the body was never found, Kira's saying. So Sisko is looking at the earring, confirmed it's real, and Kira had already gone to Dax and matched DNA on the earring. It's definitely him. So Sisko asked if she contacted Bajor. She contacted 3 Bajoran ministers. The result was exactly what she expected. And Sisko said, so they don't want to risk going to war with Cardassia. So there's rioting going on in Bajor. Bajor needs a new leader. Someone the people can trust. Lee Nollis. They need Lee. Lee is going to make Bajor great again. So O'Brien calls in and says Odo and Sisko should join him. Again, not telling him what's going on. Not going on, just there's something you better see. So Kira asks, "Do I get the runabout?" And Sisko's got to think it over. So O'Brien noticed this. Sisko says, the emblem of the Alliance for Global Unity, the circle. Odo says they're an extremist faction, wants Bajor for the Bajorans. All other races are inferior and should be expelled. How do you call other races inferior when your own race, was being subjugated for decades by Cardassia? So O'Brien is saying they're not going to get rid of us with scribbling a few circles, and Odo says I wouldn't be concerned, this is a low security area. Sisko saying they're just showing us that we're vulnerable, and then he says to Odo there's no more low security areas on the station. So Sisko's playing with his baseball. He has Dax come in to run some things by her. Sisko saying he's thinking about his mission here. He sees the turmoil on Bajor, and he's thinking his whole mission's going to unravel. He didn't think about it until Kira brought it up. So Sisko's like, what if I could bring somebody who could unite Bajor and give us everything we wanted? And Dax says, I think you should give Kira the runabout. Of course Kira's going to know. Of course Dax is going to know about the runabout. Kira went to Dax to get the DNA test on an earring. You don't think Dax is going to say, what the hell is this all about? Why do you want me to DNA test an earring? She's going to know. It's like Sisko seems surprised Kira knew. And Dax came out and put her arm on Kira as basically saying, yeah, you're going to get your runabout. Now Sisko came out and gave her a positive head nod. Kira's very happy. And so O'Brien says, Sisko says to O'Brien that Kira needs a runabout. So O'Brien said, oh, so she's going to Cardassian 4 after all. And so that one Sisko was really surprised at. And yes. Yes, if there was anyone on the station she didn't tell. And he says, well, she probably didn't tell Quark. Okay, so also he needs O'Brien to figure out a way for the runabout to not be picked up, so O'Brien can modulate the engines to make it look like Leptasian transport or something. So Sisko sees O'Brien had given it a lot of thought. Kira doesn't realize that Chief O'Brien is not in military uniform. So Sisko came in. He says, I just came in to say hi and to tell you that Chief O'Brien is going to accompany him on the mission. Kira is saying that's not a good idea. It's going to cause complications if they have a Federation officer. Sisko says it's okay. He's willing to risk it. That Kira is an excellent pilot, but Miles is better. And Kira says, I appreciate the offer, but this is a Bajoran problem. Thank you so much, Joseph. Okay, so Sisko said this isn't a negotiation. And O'Brien says he's seen how Cardassians treat their prisoners. He understands what must be going on there. And she says if the Cardassians catch us, we'll both be prisoners. And O'Brien says they'll have to catch us first. And Kira finally relents and lets O'Brien come. Tells O'Brien he has the controls. Joseph Patrick with a €2 super chat. Driving and listening. Qapla, everybody. Qapla, Joseph. Thank you again. Wesley, Bird of Prey, just wanted to say hi and leave a like. Off to work I go. Take care, Wes. Mr. Miles says, so you're going to launch an invasion of Kurdistan as soon as Anti-Trigger goes into surgery. Lol. They can consider other races inferior because the prophets tend to favor them. You got a point about the prophets, perhaps, although where were the prophets for the last 50 years? As for the invasion of Kurdistan, no comment. But no. Maybe. So, of course, this is what we see a lot. They found a Cardassian ship, and it's the same scene we've seen played out before. They got to pretend to be, usually got to pretend to be a Klingon ship, or now they got to pretend to be a transport. They're outside range of visual contact. Coincidentally, it's an audio only. They try to bluff. This is Lysepian transport Marta. So the Cardassians say that their subspace field modules are malfunctioning. The Cardassians are asking if they require assistance. They can dispatch a repair ship. How nice of them. They almost seem like Federation. No, so it's Outpost 24. Kira says it's unnecessary. So O'Brien's trying to fix it. Kira's saying they can correct the problem on her own. And she says, Gull Moraine is waiting on Cardassia 4 to receive a shipment of something. And any delay could ruin the entire crop and the Gull's mood. And so the Cardassian says, understood, you can come in for repairs after. And so that was close, she said. So O'Brien asks, so who is Gull Moraine? And Kira says she has no idea, she just made up the name. So just to be clear, Cardassia 4 I don't think is the fourth planet in the Cardassian system. Because there's not a lot of other starships around. So they're in orbit above the labor camp, which I guess they know that there's a labor camp there. And they're reading about a dozen Bajoran life signs. So Kira's like, we can only beam them up 2 at a time. And O'Brien's like, afraid not. Once we beam up the first 2, all hell's going to break loose. So, and there's no guarantee they're going to beam up the guy they want on the first try. So Kira's like, we're going to, what's security like? So O'Brien's going to land. They're going to go in on foot. So we see some Cardassians over. This must be the smallest internment camp or labor ever created. There's 12, how many say? 12, 18, 20 Bajorans. Thank you, John Araki, for the $1 super chat. So they're just going to walk on in. So O'Brien's pretending to be a pimp. And he says, we got to see the prefect. He says, what for? He says, she's got an appointment with him. So now he wants to know how much it would cost for an appointment for him. Kira says, more than you could afford. O'Brien says 2 strips of gold pressed latinum. She's all yours. he says that she needs disciplining. And Kira says, from a boy like you could never tame me. So now he demands that Kira come over. He wants to sample the merchant. He wants to see what he's paying for. He lowers the force field, so Kira walks in. Of course, he puts it up right before O'Brien walks in. And he's like, now show me why you're worth 2 strips of gold-pressed latinum. And she goes to unbutton her shirt, and then she punches him in the face. And she pulls out the phaser, and she opened the force field, so O'Brien 100% perfect shots from a hand phaser. So Kira comes in yelling for Linalis. They found him. So apparently this guy didn't even know that his earring was taken. And he said, I thought my earring was lost. And the guy behind him said, no, I had it smuggled back to Bajor. So he gets shot in the back. But of course, it's one of those shots that don't kill you. So they're putting down the force fields. They're freeing everybody. They're all going to fit in the runabout, luckily. Good thing there wasn't 1,000 people at this labor camp. It seems to be more Cardassians than there were Bajorans. If they know there's a labor camp, why didn't they come earlier? Okay, so this older guy is telling that she's got to get Linalis back to Bajor. 4 of them will stay behind and hold them off. Kira's immediately okay with it, but Linalis is not. But doesn't matter. He said, don't you see we did this for you? And so these people are going to sacrifice themselves so that Kira, Linalis, O'Brien, and the rest of the prisoners can make it back to Bajor. A very noble sacrifice indeed. So O'Brien's ready to launch, but Kira says, wait, some of the others could still make it. Two warships are entering orbit. They're going to be overhead in 45 seconds. Linalis is saying you can't leave those guys behind, but they're never going to leave. If they don't leave now, they never will, says O'Brien. Kira makes the call, take us home, Chief. And O'Brien takes off, leaving the rest of those people to their heroic deaths. And Linalis is not happy. Nobody's happy. But they make it. They make it back. He's still hurt from his phaser hit. Linalis says to the doctor, these people have been prisoners for 10 years. They need medical attention. So Bashir's with the guy. Him and a nurse get beamed, and Linalis get beamed to the infirmary because they need immediate treatment. So Major Kira comes barging in to Sisko's office. Sisko's on the video phone with Gul Dukat. So the Cardassian High Command has issued a formal apology to the people of Bajor. They had no idea that Bajoran prisoners were still being held. That such detentions are a direct violation of some rule or peace agreement. He says, assure you that the prefect will be chastised accordingly. And Kira said, what about the prisoners left behind? And Dukat says they're already en route to Bajor. So Kira says, I look forward to their return. And Dukat says, I hope that our quick response to this unfortunate situation that Cardassia is no longer the enemy. Which is a lot like what Quark did to Odo. But Cardassians don't have rules of acquisition. Kira's like, there's got to be a reason that they're being so nice. And Sisko says, I'm sure there is, but until we figure it out, we're just going to deal with these. You know, we'll take the win. Congratulations. So Bashir was working on his back, asking Lenalis how he feels. He feels good. Says, luckily, the wound wasn't as serious as it looks. So Bashir is saying he read all about the battle with Gul Zaire. That's what made him famous. So this guy, Bashir, likes talking about it, but this guy does not. He tells Bashir, I think you'll find others enjoy talking about those days. I do not. And Bashir gets it. He's like, I understand. So Lenalis is walking with Sisko and Kira, saying it's strange being here. He used to work as a labor. And Sisko says, you'll see things have changed considerably. Odo comes up and says a transport has just arrived carrying some minister from Bajor. So Sisko takes Lenalis and says the Replimat has some passable Bajoran food. And Lenalis says he'd like to go to his quarters. And they turn around and there's already a group of Bajorans gathering to see him because he's famous. He's a Bajoran celebrity. I mean, the emissary is sort of a Bajoran celebrity, but I guess this guy's a bigger celebrity than the emissary? So this guy says he's alive. Who would have imagined? The prophets were kind to her. She said that the prophets were kind to everyone. And Kira said, all I did was risk my life. And he said, what you did was declare war on Cardassia. Thankfully, they declined the invitation. And he says, next time you disobey orders, you're gonna be tossed out. But on a personal level, he wants to thank her for what she did. So she's okay with that. She says, that's good to hear. Unnamed Bajoran following him, obviously some type of assistant. Lenalis is apologizing. Sisko says, I think they'd like to hear a few words. Odo agrees. So Lenalis is going to go address him. He says, if that's what it takes. He says, it's good to be free. It's good to know, after all our years of struggle, Bajor is finally free. And the minister comes and says, yes, it is good to be free. And he's shaking his hand and says, it really is you. He's Minister Janista. So the minister asked Lenalis if he minds if he addresses the crowd. You can't expect a politician to give up an opportunity like this. The minister says, never forget this moment, because your children and your grandchildren are going to ask you, what is it like when Lenalis returned to Bajor? I'm going to bet nobody asks that. Lenalis, one-hit wonder, never heard from again in all of Deep Space Nine. Well, because we know what happens if you've seen the episode, but never even brought up again. So Cisco's like, I hope you like these quarters. He's like, I just spent 15 years in a Bajoran labor camp. I'm just grateful for some privacy. Cisco says, well, enjoy it while you can, because judging from the crowd on the promenade, a moment's going to be all you get. He says he thought they would have forgotten him by now. Cisco says, you're wrong. Lanala says, this morning I was a slave. Tonight I'm a hero. Cisco says, it must seem overwhelming. Lanala says, what's overwhelming is knowing something he waited for his whole life has finally happened. The Cardassians are gone. We won. And he's asking if Cisco's been to Bajor recently. What's free Bajor like? Cisco says, you'll be pleased for the most part. And he's like, what do you mean the most part? What do you mean? Then Bajor lacks strong leadership. That's why you're here. So he's like, that's what Major Kira meant. That's why she got me. On the runabout, Kira told her that his return would bring stability to Bajor, and Cisco's like, she's right, Bajor could use your stability, and so could I. But he says, but before you go saving Bajor, I suppose you could use a good night's sleep. So he shakes his hand, and he's finally going to give the guy the privacy he said he wanted. I think the guy said it's good to be back. Wesley said, bird of prey, every time you crash, you should... Ah, shit. I lost the keyboard. Every time you crash, you should say, punch viak bak. Every time I crash. And then he says that means it's not my fault. I assume in Klingon. So Quark is doling out the payroll. So 6 for Quark and 1 for Rom. So Rom gets 1/7 of the bar's profits. Rom says it's not fair. And Quark says, you're right. It's absolutely not fair. So Quark says, now 1 for Rom. And now 7 for him. 1 for Rom. And now 7 for Quark. So he's asking Rom if that's better. Rom's going to bed to dream of an equal share of profits. Quark says, dream on. And Quark is still taking 7 bars for every 1 bar. Of course, some random masked people have broken into Quark's, and they're using a laser scalpel on Quark's head. Commercial. And you can see they put the mark of the circle on Quark's forehead. They didn't take the money, I assume. So, Quark is... Bashir's telling him to hold still. Quark says... Cisco's asking if he recognized anyone. He says they were wearing masks. And did they say anything? No, they didn't say anything. Odo says the promenade's usually deserted at that hour. So Linalis is there for some reason. Asks who's responsible for this. Kira says it's an extremist group from Bajor. And he says Bajorans did this. Why? And Kira said because their goal is to, knock out make all non-Bajorans leave. So Linalis says, hasn't the provisional government tried to stop them? And Kira said they've tried, but the circle is more well defined, has better leadership than Bajor. So Kira is telling Linalis that they need somebody to speak out against these reactionaries, someone the people will listen to. And Dr. Bashir just finished getting the circle tattoo off of Quark's head. Quark asks Kira, how does he look? And Kira says, as handsome as ever. He liked that answer. So Sisko goes into his quarters. Jake is awake. He's like, why are you up, Jake? He couldn't sleep. He asked Jake how was his date. It was supposed to be tonight. And Jake says it was supposed to be. She couldn't make it. Sisko says it happens. Jake says her father said she can't go out with him. And Sisko asks why not. And Jake says because he's not a Bajoran. And Sisko says that's not much of a reason. But he understands. There are some troubling things happening on Bajor, Jake. Sorry, he's become a victim. He doesn't deserve it. Nobody does. And he gets a kiss on the forehead from Commander Sisko. Couple of pats on the back. Time for bed, okay. And of course, Jake goes to bed, because that's how you solve problems on television. And Sisko just about to go to bed himself. They get a call from a freighter captain. So, this freighter captain, he's actually the executive officer, they said they were about to depart the station for the Gamma Quadrant when they discovered a Bajoran citizen stowing away on the ship, and they show the citizen. Of course, it was Lenalis. So now Sisko's talking to Lenalis and says that ship wasn't scheduled to come back for 2 years. They were going to be in the Gamma Quadrant for 2 years. Just think about what happens in the next 2 years. So Lenalis says, actually, I was going to stay even longer than that. He doesn't want to be here. So Lenalis is saying to Sisko that he was a member of a minor resistance cell. They got ambushed by Cardassian troops. 3 of them escaped. Lack of food and water forced them down into the valley. He was the only one still carrying a phaser. He went on to scout ahead. Halfway down embankment, he slipped. He went rolling down, and a Cardassian emerged from the water. He just finished bathing. And Lenalis was too stunned to even move. And only when the Cardassian reached for a phaser rifle did Lenalis realize he was holding his own phaser, and he shot him. And the guy fell on top of him. So somebody recognized him as Gul Zariel, and he tried to tell them what really happened, but they all convinced that it was some type of savage struggle. That's what they told every Bajoran they met, that this was the guy who wrestled this guy to the ground. And no matter how much he tried to deny it, it just kept spreading and got bigger and bigger. Stories of his brilliance, of his courage, of his daringness. Unbelievable, because they are. People insisted on believing them. The reputation followed him into the labor camp. His presence inspired fellow prisoners. But all he did was shoot an unarmed Cardassian in his underwear. And he'll never forget the look on his face. He was embarrassed. He says, I've done what Bajor needed me to do. I've been a slave to my reputation. And it's enough. So Sisko says, they still need you. He says, but they're not. I'm not the man they think I am. Sisko says, perhaps not. But Bajor doesn't need a man. He needs a symbol. Not a bad symbol. You. That nobody's asking to lead troops into battle or kill Cardassians with their bare hands. He saw him in front of the crowd in the promenade. They look at you. They see strength and honor, decency. They see the best in themselves. He says it's all based on a lie. And Sisko says, no, it's based on a legend. And legends are as powerful as any truth. Bajor needs a legend. It needs you. So the transport's ready for departure. Sisko goes by Kira, says Major. Major goes with her. The minister is here. So they made Lenalis a Maybark, which is a brand new title. They've never had this title before. They said that any other title wouldn't have been appropriate. So he's came to Deep Space Nine because he's been made the Bajoran liaison officer of Deep Space Nine. So he's like, I already have a liaison officer. And he's like, no, you don't. Kira's been recalled to Bajor. So this is the end. It says, to be continued. The absolute worst words you can see at the end of an episode on television. To be continued. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys. I just had to... Yes, I had to let Mamo Pray know something. Okay, so that was the episode. Like I said, it's part 1 of a 3-parter. Is it still? Okay, yeah, it was buffering for a second. It was part 1 of a 3-parter. It's good. It's a good 3-parter. The first part, I'll be honest, it was a little slow. I did like that you've got the Circle, Bajoran extremists. They're ratcheting up violence. And you really want to try and cut that back like as soon as it happens, right? Because you don't want this kind of stuff to go on for years and years and become the quote-unquote new normal, right? I mean, only an idiotic government or only an idiotic people, really, would allow this type of violence and increased rhetoric and rioting and people being attacked in the streets to continue for years and years and years. Because then that will just become the way it is, and people will forget the way it was. So clearly, Bajor was quick to act, to find a solution, and no actual real, government in real life, no people in real life would ever let this happen to them. Right? Mr. Miles' bird of prey, couldn't he have taken the position and used it to correct the record and push for truth? The fool! Well, here's the thing, Mr. Miles. As Sisko said, they need the legend. They needed him as the legend. If he got up and went in front of everybody and said, listen, people, The truth is, I didn't kill the guy a hero. I killed the guy a coward. Granted, he still killed a very, very bad dude, and he'd still be a hero, but he wouldn't be the legend. And a lot of people would probably get pissed off and not follow him. I mean, he has respect now. He has the respect that, no one else can really earn at this point. It is beyond legend. So, if he came forward, yes, he would feel better, but it would destroy Bajor. Supposedly. He's Bajor's last best hope, we're told. So, if he does that, it's selfish. I was saying, is it selfish to tell the truth? In this case, yes, it is. Because if he tells the truth, he will not be as an effective a leader as the legend is out there. Do I agree with that? I don't know that I do. I don't know that I agree with it, but that is the logic being used. I hate saying that better for him to lie, or to continue the lie. He's not actually lying. I mean, he is, sort of, but he's not. He's continuing the lie. He's allowing people to believe the lie. And I'm sure he's going to have to even tell lies, because people believe certain things about him. So I hate saying that lying is the best choice here, because morally, when you think about it, it almost never is. But this might be one of those cases where, if you lie, if you tell the truth and your entire society crumbles, falls to civil war, is that the moral thing to do, right? Is it moral to lie if it saves someone's life? I would have to say yes. I'd have to say yes. As immoral as I think lying is, if you could save the life of one kid, let's say, we always do kids, whatever, whether it's adult or a kid, it doesn't really matter. But we use kids because that tugs on our sympathies more. So let's say there's a 4-year-old kid, and Alexa is turned on. I'm not asking you to make a moral decision, Alexa. Cancel. Okay. So there's a 4-year-old kid, okay? For whatever reason, terrorists, bad people, after the kid. And he's not going to get a trial. He's just going to be killed on sight because people think this kid, I don't know. And it's got to be something that's not real either, because there's got to be, like if he was carrying a disease, you could say, well, are you saving the kid? It's going to cause more people to die. No, you just, okay. It's very hard to come up with a scenario here, but for whatever reason, you have irrational people who have sworn to kill the very first blue-eyed baby born on January 1st, 2015. Okay? And through tons of DNA records, they identified this kid, Joe Schmo, as the very first baby born with blue eyes on January 1st, 2016. So they've tracked Joe Schmo down. Okay? And there was a car crash, and Joe Schmo was in the car wreck. Now, Joe Schmo and his twin brother, his identical twin brother, Mo Schmo. Mo Schmo died in the accident. Joe Schmo lived. You're the doctor. You know that if these terrorists get their hands on Joe Schmo, they will kill him. And you're the only one who knows who really lived or died. And you have to tell the news. You've got to make a report. to the news or to the doctors or to wherever, to the world, to the government. I don't care. Who do you say died? Do you say Mo Schmo died? There's no way anybody can ever prove you wrong. It's you're the one making the call. If you say Mo Schmo died, then people are going to kill his brother. But if you say that Joe Schmo died, and Mo Schmo is the living one, then the people will stop because they'll say, okay, God killed them for us. We don't have to keep looking for this poor kid. We can all go home now and move on with our lives. There is a very specific situation, and it's a ridiculous situation, very contrived. But that is one of the few situations where absolutely the doctor would be completely moral in lying because it would save a life. My opinion. I would hope most people would agree, but do I think most people would agree? I don't know. I obviously that is such a ridiculous situation. I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious if anybody is even still listening, but even more curious if anybody would agree with what I said. Or maybe you say, no, nobody should ever lie, and they should just fight these people who are trying to kill the kid and deal with the consequences. Where are we? Miss Londell says, Bird of Prey, in today's world, some smug reporter would go through Lee Niles' Twitter account, find a tasteless joke he said 20 years earlier, and a stupid stunt to vet him. Yeah. In Mr. Miles' Bird of Prey, it's not the best choice. They could find someone else to call their hero, someone that's more deserving. They say it themselves. They wanted a symbol, not the man. But Mr. Miles, everybody already knows Lee Niles. O'Brien knew him by name. Cisco knew him by name. Millions probably of Bajorans know the man by name. He's already a legend. How you invent a new legend, right? I mean, who, if you just bring up somebody new and say, oh my God, this guy was so great. Nobody ever heard of him before, but trust me, he was the best. He was the biggest fighter during the rebellion, in the resistance. He killed more people than he put Lee Niles to shame. He killed so many gulls. Don't ask me their names, but he killed so many gulls. He had a frickin' necklace of gull bones that he used to wear. And now here he is, and he's going to lead Bajoran. No, you can't do that. You can't just make up a person. This guy's already been made. He's known. Everybody knows who he is. You can't just create a celebrity from nothing. This isn't, what's that show? This isn't Bajoran Idol, right? You don't just vote on people and say, you're the new megastar. Thomas's Bird of Prey, yes, I agree with you. Bird, Mr. Miles is insane. And Mrs. Miles' Bird, there are always unsung heroes, always. Find one of them. So you're just assuming you can find an unsung hero, but if they're an unsung hero, they're unsung. It doesn't have the impact because nobody knows who they are. You're going to say, oh, this was an unsung hero. Well, you know what? That's fine. And the 20 people who watch your story or listen to or read your tweet, yeah, they're going to be like pretty cool. But the other 99% of the population, it's going to be 10 years, if ever, that they hear about the unsung hero. Right? How many people today know about Tesla compared to Edison? You think it's 50%? I don't. Mamo probably knows, but only because I've been in this house so long. I would venture to guess, of people who knew who Edison or Tesla was, the vast, vast majority probably only know who Edison was. Okay? Even though Tesla was by far the bigger hero. He did not get the publicity. And it's over. You can't say Tesla's the man. People have been saying Tesla's the man for 40 years, 50 years. Nobody gives a shit because they learned about Edison in school. They didn't learn about Tesla in school. And no matter what you tell them about Tesla, it's going to be cool for a week. They're going to remember it at the party or whatever. I don't know what party people talk about Tesla and Edison at. That would be a party I'd want to be at. They don't make those parties, really. But, after a week, they're going to forget. And they're going to be like, yeah, Edison, the guy that invented the light bulb. Not the guy that electrocuted an elephant to fraudulently defraud Americans out of the superior form of electricity. Mr. Mouse says the point is to change it from unsung to sung. Nikola Tesla is such an example. Did you say that before I said it? Mr. Mouse says the majority of people I've known since high school knew Tesla just as well as Edison. Do you think perhaps you were not the usual majority? Do you think perhaps you might know a specific subset of people that might know more about Tesla than the general population? I mean, you're here on a Birdo Prey 5 stream. You're editing for Anti-Trekker. Do you think perhaps that we don't represent the general population of this country? What were you going to say, Mama Prey?
Exactly what you did.
Yeah. Thomas's Bird of Prey. Thomas Edison invented the electric hammer. From a very funny Simpsons episode where Homer decides to become an inventor, and he invents the electric hammer, and everybody ridicules him for it. And then the one thing he really did invent were these things that make stop the chair from falling over when you lean back in the chair, an extra pair of legs that are on a hinge so they come out. And anyway, so he was in this duel with Edison as to how many inventions, and he becomes kind of happy when he invented this chair things. And then they see in a picture of the Edison Museum that Edison had actually had those same legs on the back of his chair. So it was an invention he never publicized, but supposedly he actually invented it before Homer. So Homer and Bart go to the Edison Museum to destroy those legs so that Homer can be the better inventor. And Homer takes with him his electric hammer invention. He's going to hammer that chair good. So they sneak into the museum after everybody's left. They come out, and Homer is about to take the electric hammer to the chair when Homer sees on the wall that Edison was in a competition between him and Da Vinci as to who was the better inventor. So Homer sees it, he stops, he's like, oh my God, Edison, he was always fighting for Da Vinci, and there was this thing with, how many pegs they had, and Da Vinci was ahead of Edison, and so now Homer's like, oh my God, it's the same thing, because Edison was obviously ahead of Homer, and he's like, I can't do this, or whatever, I can't do this. And I don't know if they get chased out or whatever, but he had a change of heart, they leave. And then on the news, the next day, they're like, and there was some type of break-in at the Edison thing, where they found that, in fact, Edison invented 2 new inventions. These extra set of legs on the back of chairs, and even more astonishingly, an electric hammer, which had gone so far unnoticed. But they're sure to sell, and it's going to bring in millions of dollars for the already rich Edison estate. And then they have a dramatic representation of people throwing money representing Thomas Edison's heirs drowning in money already. They're going to get even richer from Homer Simpson's electric hammer. And so Bart says, "Oh, Homer, you're taking this pretty good." And Homer says, "Let's just say I'm sitting on the right chair." And another invention Homer had earlier in the episode was like a lazy boy recliner that was also a toilet bowl. So he was sitting on the toilet when he heard. Back when the Simpsons were good. Mr. Miles says, "Do you think you and Aunt are the only people I've ever hung out with?" Come on. No, I don't think it's the only people you ever hung out with, but the fact that you do hang out here already tells me that you are outside of the normal population. I'm sorry. And the people you knew in high school
were a little more intelligent than most.
Mama Prey saying yes. The people you knew in high school probably just a little bit more intelligent than most. Or a lot. I don't know. I mean, you know, you're hanging. I don't know who you hung out with in high school, but I'm guessing it wasn't the goth kids and the jocks. My high school didn't even have jocks. We didn't have sports. But, you know, if you hang out with the chess club in high school, you're probably not having the same high school experience the vast majority of the students going to high school are having. Not saying it's good or bad. I mean, it's good. But you're not saying it's bad not to do that or to do it. But it's just different. Dan23 says the lady who was responsible for the original Doctor Who theme music couldn't be credited back in the 60s because she was female. So in the credits, they put a man's name who worked with her. I call bullshit. I mean, not saying it wasn't true, but there were plenty of women credited with stuff in the 60s. I don't know what it was like in Great Britain in the 60s, but in the United States, it wouldn't have been an issue. Actor says Joe uses extra pages to avoid his bed from extra pegs to avoid his bed from turning over and crashing like in Space Engineers. Dan23 says, I saw a film about this lady who worked at NASA in the 60s, but because she's a woman, she didn't get any credit. No, that's probably bullshit, too.
No, there was that.
There was the movie.
Right, with the minority women.
Yeah, the minority women, but how did they not get credit? How many people do you know who worked at NASA in the 60s, besides astronauts? How many of them can you name by name? None. In fact, only them, perhaps. Okay? The people who worked in the NASA building got zero credit. They were not celebrities. They did not get parades. Nobody gave a shit who the people, the engineers, and the millions, the thousands of nameless faces that made the space program work. Whether they were white men, or African American women, or Asian, or transgender, whatever. Nobody knew who they were. Only the astronauts got famous. Okay? So, yes, I know the movie. I saw the movie. It was a decent movie. It was a good movie. What credit? What credit do you get? You don't get credit. You don't get credit for being in the ground in the space program. I'm sorry. Who do you know? Neil Armstrong. Okay? Probably half the people don't even know Buzz Aldrin was number 2. And I guarantee you, 90% don't know who the third person was in the space console, in the orbiter, in the lunar orbiter. Unless, perhaps, you were born at that age that you watched it on television. But I will bet you a lot of money that 90% of people born since 1980 have no clue who the third person in the lunar orbiter was. It was Michael Collins. The vast majority of the American population have no idea. Michael Collins orbited the moon. Nobody knows who the F he was. Do you know who the people who orbited the moon before Apollo 11 were? I bet you don't, because I don't. I mean, I know I'd remember their names if you told me. I can't recall them offhand. They orbited the frickin' moon. They don't have any real credit. But some ladies who worked in a basement in NASA, they're upset they didn't get any credit. Who cares? Nobody who worked in the basement got any credit. Where's the credit for all the other people working in the basement? It's not there. I'm sorry they didn't get credit. That's the job they signed up for. I'm sure they felt really good when they saw that rocket take off, and there was this thrill and this incredible high you get when you realize you're part of something so big, and you know that those people couldn't have gotten there without your work, whether your job was to fasten the bolts on the rocket engine or to calculate the trajectory or to determine, that it was safe to pee into a frickin', plastic bag. Whatever it was your job, they could not have made it to the moon and back without you. You were vital. There was thousands of vital people in the space effort. 99.9999% of them will never get recognized. As Vamopre says, as with every other industry. Right? The world's best garbage picker-upper, the sanitation person. Do they get recognized? No. Maybe in the sanitation awards, but doesn't get press. They don't have a red carpet. Right? There's no Oscars of sanitation. Are they less useful? Are they any less human? No, they're not less human.
I could do without an actor or actress.
Right, I'd much rather do without actors and actresses than without the sanitation people who pick up the garbage. Okay, if it came to trading in my garbage man for, Leonardo DiCaprio, I'd say, sorry, Leo. Yeah, you were in Wolf of Wall Street, you were in the Titanic. I didn't mind you. Those them apples. Was that the same guy? I don't know. See, I don't even know if you're the same guy in Good Will Hunting. I think you are. I don't care. I want my garbage man before I want you. Very few people in this world get the recognition they deserve. 100 years ago today, Sidney E. Frank, my former boss, whose picture, you can't see it, but it's up there. His picture hangs over my living room. First picture I put up in the house. 100 years ago today, he was born. Sidney E. Frank. The man reached a point, he had $2.3 billion. He was on the Forbes 400 richest Americans. He had about 15 minutes of fame. He donated $100 million to Brown University, and one or two reporters came down, and I don't think it made any major news networks. Brown University, they didn't tweet it out. They put in their own publication. They had a parade for him, but it was local to Brown University. Sassy. Okay, yeah. I'm switching off the camera, but okay. The man had $2.3 billion. Yes, it's safe, Mom. The man had $2.3 billion. He gave hundreds and hundreds of millions to charity. The man would search out Holocaust survivors. He would search out people who invented things who never got big credit for it. He would give money to them directly. He would give money to their descendants directly. He was paying for the colleges of so many people directly. Okay? He was a great, great philanthropist. He got about 15 minutes of fame. Donald Trump did a video with him on the Golf Channel back when everybody liked Donald Trump. 2005 Donald Trump, not 2016 to 2019 Donald Trump. Bill Clinton came and spoke at his it was this company sales meeting, but it was basically gave a eulogy. He was, they played golf together more than once. barely recognized, and he made $2.3 billion, gave hundreds and hundreds of millions to charity, left all of his money to a charity, to the Sidney E. Frank Foundation. Now, they don't do the same exact things that he did personally in his life, but he left all that money to charity. Yeah, if you Google him, you could find an article or two. If you were involved in the spirits world, you might know the name if you remember well. But that man did more than 99.999% of us ever will, and he barely got any recognition, which is fine, right? If you ever read the Forbes 400 list, the 400 richest Americans, you don't know most of those names. I don't know most of those names. Yeah, Buffett, Gates, Waltons, Oprah. I think Oprah's on there. Bezos, if he's on there, I'm assuming. But 350 out of the 400 richest Americans, you don't know who they are. Should they be famous because they're rich? No. But I bet that there's more than a handful of them doing good things. They probably should be getting some recognition, but they don't. There's lots of good people in lots of good fields, rich or poor, doing great stuff that get no recognition. You're not owed recognition in life. And in most cases, recognition makes your life harder anyway. So I think people would be just as well to not get major recognition. Because once you get recognized, people are going to start contacting you. People are going to want more stuff from you. And all that stuff. So, credits, yes, your name should be in the credits. If you worked on a TV show, your name should be in the credits. And honestly, in the United States, I'm sure there are plenty of women whose name were in the credits on TV shows in the United States. I don't know what was going on in Great Britain that this woman couldn't have her name in the credits of Doctor Who. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm an American. I really can't comment on it. I know from what Mama Prey has told me, she grew up in that time, and certainly women got credit when they worked on television shows. As for the women in NASA, yes, they existed. What else do you want? They're not owed anything other than acknowledgement of their existence, which I acknowledge.
Also have to realize the difference in the amount of women who work outside the home in the 1960s.
Right, Mama Prey is saying, and also to realize that the number of women, the amount of women who were working outside the home in the 1960s was minuscule compared to today, right? So today you think, for the most part, men and women grow up and they both get jobs. In the 1960s, the vast majority of women grew up and got married. They did not get jobs. Some did, but most did not. So, yes, it was unusual for a woman to be working at NASA at all. And more unusual for a woman of color to be working for NASA. But they're not going to get credit any more than the white guy sitting next to them if they're working in the basement. If they were an astronaut, you damn well they'd be getting credit. But they weren't astronauts. And yes, there was an African-American astronaut in training, but they weren't in training for NASA. They were in training for the top secret space program the government was running that was trying to put a space station in orbit before the Russians to do reconnaissance research. It was a secret space program being run prior to NASA. They were training astronauts before NASA. They were top secret. Nobody could talk about them. They couldn't talk about what they did until, 10 or 15 years ago. It got declassified. And yes, there was an African American amongst the 10 or so other white guys who they all came from the military. And they were all said, do you want to go to space? They said yes. They agreed to living very privately. All their calls were monitored. All their communications were monitored. They couldn't take photographs of anything. They were top secret people getting ready to go to space. And then just as they were getting ready to go to space, they cut the funding because they realized, hey, we don't need humans in space to take pictures. Satellites take just fine pictures, just fine. We don't need a second space program. So these people, some have just said, F it, I'm done. And others decided to go work for NASA, but because it was still a top secret, they had to start at the bottom. Even though these people were fully trained to go into space already, they had to start at the bottom at NASA, like they had never received any training. They couldn't claim to have ever received any training. Okay? And it was decades before these people ever some of them got to go into space. Some of them never did. But one of them, I forget his name, because he wasn't first to get into space, but he was the first to pilot a space shuttle. And he actually started in the top secret astronaut training program that the U.S. ran before and at the same time as NASA. Sharon Moore says, Bird of Prey, there's a tradition in the Russian space program, or so I've heard, that before going on a mission, the commander has to pray on the tires of the transport that takes them to the rocket. Sharon Moore, that would sound strange. I mean, maybe P, you mean. Yeah, okay, that would still be strange. That would be more strange. I would say certainly not pray, because during the Soviet Union, praying was illegal. There was no religion. Peeing on the transport, on the wheel, maybe. I mean, that just sounds like a weird tradition. It's possible. That's crazy Russians. I mean, maybe they break a bottle of vodka over the wheel. I don't know, but whatever. Very interesting. Very cool. I guess you mean P. You wrote P-R-E. I think you wrote P-R-E. Yeah, you wrote P-R-E, so I'm assuming pre. John Street says, Bird of Prey, What We Left Behind, worth the $3.99 on YouTube Movies. No, purchase it. Purchase it. Don't rent it. Purchase it. Purchase the HD version, and yes, it's worth it. What?
I like the last song.
Mama Prey really likes the ending song in What We Left Behind. I'll be warned, a large part of What We Left Behind, maybe like 20%, 15%, is singing. Miss Londell says, Bird of Prey, but I think you have to admit it's a good thing that the stories of these women is finally being told. Well, I don't think it's a bad thing, Miss Londell. I don't think it's a bad thing. Do I think it's a good thing? I don't care. I mean, I watched it. I liked it. It was a good movie. Is it good to know that there were women of color working for NASA? Yes. But shouldn't you have assumed there were women of color working for NASA? It's only in 2019 and in the last, couple of decades, that we've gotten so ingrained in our mind that we think people of color have been such victims since it's like slavery ended in 1969 or something. No, slavery ended in 1865. I'm sorry, 1860s. It ended a long time ago. Okay, and there were a whole bunch of African American Congress people, and I think even senators, right after the Civil War. Then the South started with their Jim Crow stuff, and that was bad. I agree, it was really bad. They shouldn't have done it. They started doing poll taxes. They started doing tests before you could vote. Personally, I love the idea of a test before you can vote. But unfortunately, these racist Southerners ruin the idea forever, because instead of giving an actual fair test, they would give white people a test, hey, what's 2 plus 2? And they would give African Americans a test, hey, recite the Declaration of Independence verbatim right now. And, nope, you fail, you pass. So that was completely racist. Bullshit. I wish we could do a test today. Not a racist test, a fair test. We can't. We can never do that again. Taken away from us by racist white Southerners. That said, there were a lot of African Americans in politics prior to Jim Crow. And after Jim Crow, now we've got representation. We've got representation from all races, right? We've got Muslim women in there. We've got many women in. Okay? And it's never going to be 50-50. We shouldn't aim for it being 50-50. Okay? That's the delusion of this world, is that, we think there should be an equal number of women in Congress. No, there shouldn't be an equal number of women in Congress. No, there shouldn't be an equal number of women presidents. Because women don't enter politics in the same numbers as men. And there's nothing wrong with that, because women have different priorities than men. It's part of life. Okay? Part of life. Women are forced to, by nature, by their very nature, to carry the young, to carry the unborn. And physically, the young depend literally upon their bosoms for the next couple of years of life. Okay? That's reality. Okay? Because of that, many women prefer to stay home and raise children if possible. If possible. It's not possible in a lot of places these days because you need more money, so women often, I'm not saying against their will, but often against what they'd prefer, have to go back to work and leave kids with daycare, or hopefully they have family who can watch them. But usually because of the economics of modern society, that even if you're a married couple, you need 2 incomes, and God forbid you're a single parent, you need income, so you have to work. That said, the women aren't entering these fields like politics and engineering and coding and all these other things that people think, it should be 50% women. No, it shouldn't be 50% women. And it's perfectly okay if it's not 50% women. It should be whatever percentage it doesn't matter. You shouldn't worry about the percentage. You should worry who's best for the job. If you have a really good senator, if you have a really good congressperson, if you have a really good president, don't get caught up on their gender or their race or their religion. It doesn't matter. Okay, yes, we're going to have a lot of white male Christian presidents. You know what? White Christian presidents are still the majority of the country, and they're still the people go into politics the most for the time being. It might have changed by now, but it will be 20, 30, 40 years before those people age into the system. For the longest time, it was white Christian men that were going into politics. And yet you got some white Christian women, you got some non-white women, you got some, non-Christian people. And they're the youngest people in the Congress, but they're making their way in, and that's kind of natural. That's expected, that's going to happen. But it's not going to happen immediately. What? We don't talk about Schumer. What do you want to say about Schumer?
In politics.
Right, okay.
For a long time.
Right. Chuck Schumer, senator from New York.
He was
Senior senator from New York. Congressman. He's been in politics his entire life. he is basically holding a place. When he dies, he will likely be replaced or retires. But I don't think he'll ever retire. With a woman and or a minority. Okay, but that's it, because he's already got the job. So when he passes on or retires, he will probably get replaced with a woman or minority, and that's perfectly fine.
All I was saying is he's not Christian.
Oh, he's not Christian. Oh, Mom. Oh, Christian. I'm sorry. I said Christian. He's Jewish. Okay. But he's also basically blocking a person of color or a woman. And once he gets old enough and people vote him out or he dies, well, then nobody's going to ever vote him out, unfortunately. It's New York. But once he retires or passes away, he's going to get replaced. And there's a lot of people like that in Congress now, and so that's going to correct itself naturally. Don't worry about the percentage of people. That will work itself out, okay? The best person for the job. You never have a problem. You will never, ever have a problem if you always choose the best person for the job. You don't have to make any quotas. You don't have to make any special tests. If you always pick the best person for the job, you will always have the best outcome. Period. Joseph, you are a great companion. Safe at home, Bird of Prey. Thank you, Joseph. Glad you made it. Miss so Bird of Prey, I think you have to admit it's a good. I read that one. John Street says Bird of Prey. I read that one. Actor says Bird of Prey. Now please explain to me that thing about the bees and where the storks bring the babies come from. Actor, we'll do that on the next episode. Remind me, Actor, on Friday. I gotta go, guys. Excuse, but most Christians into politics act nothing like Christians. So what the hell is the importance of where they spend an hour a week? I don't know if it's most, Hector, and I don't care. I don't care, but most of them tend to identify as Christian. That's all I'm saying. They identify as Christian. I don't care how Christian they are. That's not the point of the debate. Sassy's telling me I gotta go. Thank you guys all so much. Well, sure, this video is going to be demonetized, but it doesn't matter. It was fun. Yeah, Sassy's getting dinner, so she's barking. We can talk more about this on Friday if you guys want. Obviously, you can tell it's. I'm in a debate right now on Nextdoor.com, a social media site for local networks, because New York City made it illegal to say certain things about illegal aliens. In fact, they made it illegal for some people to even call people illegal aliens if it's said out of hate, which is a ridiculous law. And I'm in a debate with a lot of people, good people, but people who don't understand why restricting speech in such a way is bad. So I've just been on the defensive all day. Light with Matthew says later, Bird of Prey and all. Josh Street says Bird of Prey. Sassy is saying she wants to be in the Strabe. One day. And Anti-Tracker goes in. For those who didn't check it, he's going to be in the operation again at 7:30 a.m. Central Time. So for those who pray or send out good vibes, be sure to do so. We all hope he's okay. And we want this operation to be a great success. And he can get back to making Borg videos. Or whatever. Yes, they did just make that against the law, Josh Street. Thomas is calling the NYPD on me. Do it, Thomas. Sassy's here to protect me. Qapla.